What's happening, Exiles? Welcome to my Adonia's Ego Spark Blood Mage build. This build has high single target damage, fast movement speed, quick map clear, and high item rarity. Before we get started, I just want to give a shout out to Dead Rabbit. He created the original Spark Blood Mage build that I used as a base to get this build up and running. It's a really awesome build, so definitely go check that out and toss him a sub if you haven't already. He's an awesome content creator and an overall positive dude. Now let's get into the build. With the introduction of elemental infusions in 0.3, Adonia's Ego in combination with Siphon Elements stood out to me as a really cool option to grant elemental infusions without having to play a piano. Siphon Elements is a spirit gem that grants a persistent buff that grants you a chance to generate elemental infusions when you freeze, shock, or ignite a target. And Adonia's Ego comes with a unique skill, Pinnacle of Power. This skill becomes castable once you have maximum power charges. It then consumes all of your power charges to grant a buff that gives 10% more elemental damage per power charge consumed, for a duration of 5 seconds per power charge consumed. This is a massive damage buff for any elemental build. However, the build I'm going to show you today isn't necessarily an elemental build. We're using Adonie's Bloodletting and stacking life to deal massive amounts of physical damage. So what I'm really after with the Pinnacle of Power is its secondary buff that grants all elemental damage the ability to freeze, shock, and ignite. This is where the synergy between Adonia's Ego and Siphon Elements comes alive. Our lightning damage from Spark gains the ability to freeze and ignite, which in turn generates cold infusions for itself and fire infusions for our cast on crit Comet. Adonie's Bloodletting gains a percentage of our base damage as physical damage, and casting Spark with a cold infusion adds base flat cold damage to the spell, in turn gaining even more physical damage on those infused casts from Adonie's Bloodletting. And in order to gain even more physical damage from Adonie's, we need a way to add life cost to the skill. We do this in two ways. First, we simply add spell levels to the skill, increasing the base damage of the skill and the cost. We get +1 level from the Gem Corruption, +5 total levels from our wand. We also get an additional +3 from our amulet, which can become a +4 if sanctified with good luck. Second, we take Wrathpith Globe and stack as much maximum life as possible. Wrathpith comes with a modifier, spells cost an additional 6% of your maximum life. And we also gain critical hit chance and increased spell damage per 100 maximum life. In order to add even more cost to the spell via Wrathpith, we grab as much maximum life on our gear as possible, and we take Veil of the Night for a massive 50% increase to our life pool, which also comes with the added downside of having no elemental resistances. This means we can't have any fire, cold, or lightning resistance, but it also means we can't go into the negatives. This completely removes the downside of stacking power charges with Adonia's Ego, giving us free reign to get as many maximum power charges as possible. A negative multiplied by a negative is a positive, right? So, we look for a 2-socket Veil of the Night with +1 to maximum power charges as the corruption. With all of this put together, our maximum life has reached 6100. This brings our spark cost to over 2800, which makes Adonie's Bloodletting gain 560% of our base damage as extra physical damage. Now, with such a high cost, you may be wondering how we are going to regenerate the health needed to cast our spells. Or you may already know since everyone is already using it this league. It's the Undying Hate Unique Timeless Jewel in Tribute to Techrod. This jewel changes any keystone passive in its radius into Sacrifice of Blood. Sacrifice of Blood gives us life regeneration based on how much life has been spent in the past 8 seconds. Using this, we can keep casting Spark while running through maps with high movement speed and regenerate massive amounts of health and deal massive amounts of damage. Now let's take a look at our Ascendancy, the Blood Mage. The first point we get is free and required to allocate Sangromancy. This adds a base life cost equal to our mana cost and also gives the persistent buff skill called Life Remnants. This skill gives us a chance to spawn Life Remnants on killing an enemy or a guaranteed one every few seconds when hitting a target. These remnants refill our life when picked up, which can also overflow our life up to 1.5 times the maximum. The overflow portion of the skill isn't really useful to us since we are constantly spending that life away as soon as we get it. The next node we take is Sunder the Flesh. This gives all of our spells a base critical hit chance of 15%. And the node after that, we go for Gore Spike. Gore Spike gives us 1% increased critical damage bonus per 50 life. At 6100 life, this node is giving us 122% increased critical damage bonus. The next node we grab is going to be Grasping Wounds, which is going to be massive in giving us some damage mitigation since we are running no elemental resistances. 25% of life loss from hits is converted into damage over time over the span of 4 seconds. This damage over time is being fully mitigated by our life regeneration from the Undying Hate Jewel. And for our last node, we take Vitality Siphon for Life Leech from spells, which helps keep our life pool high as we cast our spells and hit enemies. Now let's take a look at our skill gem setup. For the skill gained from our Ascendancy passive, Life Remnants, we take Remnant Potency 3 to increase the effect of the healing from the remnants, and Harmonic Remnants 2 for a chance to create an additional remnant. For Pinnacle of Power and every other skill besides Spark, we take Life Tap so that we aren't using any of our mana to cast our skills. Along with Life Tap, we're taking Perpetual Charge for the chance to not remove the charges but still count as consuming them. And we also take Heightened Charges for a 20% chance of consuming charges to be doubled. This means when we consume 8 charges and this procs, it's like we're consuming 16 charges instead. And then for the last slot, we take Prolonged Duration to give us more duration of the buff. For our main ability Spark, we take a level 20 Spark and we corrupt it for +1 level from corruption. And like I said earlier, we're using Adelui's Bloodletting. This converts all of the mana cost into life cost and gains physical damage based on that life cost. We also take Projectile Acceleration 3 to make all increases and reductions to projectile speed also apply to projectile damage. When qualityed up to 20%, Spark comes with the additional effect of 30% increased projectile speed. And we also grab Mobility for the less movement speed penalty while using the skill to get through maps a lot quicker. We take Zenith 2 for 30% more spell damage while we are above 90% of our maximum mana. And to round things out, we take Heft to deal 30% more maximum physical hit damage. This is a massive increase to our physical damage that we gain from Adelui's Bloodletting. We're also using Frostbomb, but just to generate cold infusions. So inside of Frostbomb, we take Life Tap, and we take Short Fuse 2 for less detonation time, giving our cold infusion faster. And we have Cooldown Recovery 2 to bring up that cooldown faster, Harmonic Remnants 2 for the chance to create an additional remnant, and Concentrated Area as well. Inside of Siphon Elements, we grab Harmonic Remnants 2 and then Mysticism 1 to deal increased spell damage while our energy shield is full. And for the last skill we're using is Cast on Critical with Comet slotted in there. And we again have a level 20 with a +1 level from Corruption, Life Tap so we aren't spending any mana, Rakiata's Flow to invert enemy monster elemental resistance, Considered Casting for more spell damage, and Fluke, which gives us a chance to deal between 40% less and 60% more damage, and we recover a random amount of our life between 0 and 20% of cost on use. For the rest of the skill gem setup, make sure you fill out the skills with the right amount of colors in order to get your passive buff from Gem Enthusiast. Now let's take a look at our passive skill tree. Take only as much int and dex as you need for gem and gear requirements. Then put the rest into strength. Strength gives us 2 life per 1 point of strength, so pathing around while grabbing a bunch of it is increasing both our life pool and damage. For this build, we only need 50 dex and 157 int. The first set of important nodes is going to be up to the left. We take these 3 points on the way to grab Touch the Arcane to increase the effect of Arcane Surge. Make sure you grab these chance to gain Arcane Surge nodes when you deal a critical hit. It is our only way of proccing Arcane Surge. Then we come over and grab Sanguimantic Rituals. This converts our more mana regeneration from Arcane Surge into more life regeneration instead. Sacrificial Blood is another really important node that increases our life cost and spell damage with spells that cost life. And we also take Mind Over Matter for a welcome addition to our hit pool. Make sure you also come up here to grab the cast speed from Overzealous. In the upper right area of the tree, we come over here and grab Chaos Inoculation. And this is where we insert the Undying Hate Timeless Jewel in tribute to Techrod. This converts Chaos Inoculation into Sacrifice of Blood. The number that you find on this jewel does not matter one bit. The only thing that matters is the tribute. You want to find a jewel that says in tribute to Tekrod. Amanamu, Ulaman, and Kurgle are all incorrect ones, and you can re-roll the name by hitting it with a divine orb. After that, we path down here and we make sure to grab overflowing power for +2 to our maximum power charges. From there, we path down into the jewel socket where we put a controlled metamorphosis diamond. Make sure that this says only affects passives in a large ring. Massive will not work, very large will not work, and medium will not work. This large ring allows us to allocate 4 points: Kite Runner, giving us movement speed, projectile speed, and projectile damage. And because of projectile acceleration 3, this projectile speed is also being converted into more projectile damage. We take Harmonic Generator for increased critical hit chance against shocked enemies, and increased magnitude of shock that we inflict with critical hits. We also take for the Jugular for an increased critical damage bonus, as well as Spaghettification, mainly for movement speed and a little bit for the attributes. Make sure that the controlled metamorphosis you get has as small of a reduction to your chaos resistance as possible. We make sure to grab Throatseeker for a massive increased critical damage bonus and a minor reduction to critical hit chance. Then we come down and grab Chakra of Life, Heartbreaking, and Heart Stopping. We also insert a Time Loss Ruby that gives 25% increased effect of the notable passives in Radius. This increases the life recovery from 10 to 12, the critical hit chance from 15 to 18, and the critical damage bonus from 25 to 31. We also gain about 15% increased life regeneration rate and about 5% increased physical damage. Next, we come down here for this jewel socket where we insert our Heart of the Well diamond. The main 2 modifiers on here that you're going to want to look for is going to be increased movement speed and chance to pierce an enemy. Since Spark's projectiles travel along the ground until they hit an enemy or expire, having chance to pierce actually helps a lot in clearing dense packs. We also come up here and grab Cooked for another massive critical damage bonus, and Freedom of Movement for reduced movement speed penalty from using skills. Then we come down for Acceleration, giving us skill speed and movement speed, and we come down into these nodes for increased movement speed, and then we grab the Spring Hair for a chance for enemies' damage to be unlucky and a chance for our damage to be lucky. After the Spring Hair, we path down for Gem Enthusiast. Again, make sure you get 10 red, blue, and green support gems for these buffs. Then we path upwards for the Jewel Socket and take Adrenaline Rush for increased movement speed if we've killed recently. In total, these 2 nodes give us another 7% while we're mapping. In this Jewel Socket, I have a From Nothing that allows us to allocate nodes within range of Pain Attunement. And over here, we grab Zealot's Oath. This turns our excess life recovery into energy shield recovery. We take this for 2 reasons. 1, to keep our hit pool as high as possible at all times, and for 100% uptime on our Mysticism and Desecrated modifier on our ring. In this lower right jewel socket, I have a Megalomaniac that allocates the Power Within and Battle Fever. The Power Within gives us 1 maximum power charge, an increased critical damage bonus if you've gained a power charge recently. This is the main passive that you want on your Megalomaniac. Then for the second one, you can just get anything that's helpful, or anything at all if you're just looking to save currency. My second node is Battle Fever, which gives us increased skill speed and increased physical damage. For the rest of the jewel slots, you're just going to fill them out with rare sapphire jewels. The main modifiers you're going to look for is going to be increased spell damage, increased critical hit chance, and increased critical damage bonus. One of your jewels, you want to have Recover Mana on kill, so that we can keep our mana pool high, since it is a part of our hit pool. To round things out, let's take a look at the gear. Of course, we're using Adonia's Ego. For maximum potential, you either want 3 sockets or 2 sockets and a +4 level of all spell skills from the Corruption. Make sure it has a high cast speed and +1 to maximum power charges, because it can roll with -1. Just be sure to pay attention to that. In the sockets, we have 2 +1 to level of all spell skill runes, and 1 soul core that grants 50% chance to gain an extra power charge when gaining a power charge. Next, we're taking a 2 socket Veil of the Night with a +1 to maximum power charge enchantment from the Corruption. And for the sockets, we put 2 greater body runes in. Bolus Protector is our source of gaining power charges. It gives us a 25% chance to gain power charges on critical hit. Do your best to find as many sockets as possible, so you can put Jaquani Soul Cores in there to give 3% max life per Soul Core. You're going to get a Wrathpith Globe for your focus and put a Takati Soul Core in there for extra chaos resistance. As for the gloves, you're going to want to find a 3 socket pair of gloves. The main modifiers you're going to look for is going to be maximum life as much as possible, increased critical damage bonus, 100% increased effect of socketed items, and chaos resistance. And as for the runes, you slot in 3 greater body runes. This gives you another 240 to maximum life just from the sockets. For the boots, triple sockets, 2 movement speed runes, 1 reduced movement speed penalty from using skill rune. You want as much maximum life as possible again, strength to give more max life, and again 100% increased effect of socketed items. And you can go for chaos resistance or rarity for the last modifier on the boots. For the modifiers on the amulet, you want to get at least 36 spirit to run the exact build I'm running today, flat maximum life, and a % increase to maximum life, +3 to level of all spell skills, increased cast speed, and then for the final modifier, you want strength or intelligence. If you get intelligence on this, you can just respec some of your intelligence on the tree into strength for more maximum life. Make sure you also anoint barbaric strength with delirium. This gives us strength and critical damage bonus. And the same concept goes for the ring. We're using a breach ring for the maximum 40% quality, just to increase our life amount as much as possible. We have 2 T1 rarity mods, 1 T1 maximum life, T1 increased cast speed, increased spell damage while on full energy shield. This is the modifier I was talking about earlier. And then, again, intelligence or strength on the ring. And I'm using a Kalandra's Touch to mirror that exact ring onto my left slot. And then, to top it all off, an Ingenuity to increase the effect of the rings. With the current version of this build, I have a total of 127% rarity. And that pretty much rounds out the build. Let's get into a quick map showcase to show you how it works.
I've got a juiced up map here to run. Let's go through it and I'll show you how to play the build. So first thing first, when you get into a map, start casting your spark, start building up life regeneration. Once you get it stacked up, you'll be able to start casting constantly. And just walk through the map killing everything. Hey, what a good map to show you. Okay, first rare monster gives me Divine Orb. Let's go, we take it. Okay, 2 Divine Orbs. As you start walking through the map, you'll start gaining power charges. Once you hit 8, then you activate Pinnacle of Power. At this point, your Spark's lightning damage will be contributing to Freeze, Shock, and Ignite, giving us all of our infusions that we could want for both Spark and Comet. Then I use Frost Bomb every now and then just to give myself a free cold infusion for Spark. So the rare monster modifiers you're definitely going to want to watch out for are going to be the ones where it prevents life recovery above 50%. And then the abyssal mods where they drop Desecrated Ground, which basically deletes your life recovery too. Those mods combined with Shroud Walker and or Proximal Tangibility really suck because you got to get in close or they get close to you, cutting your life regen. Get this breach done and then I'll just head to the boss. You can see all the cold explosions going. Oh, okay, we got a chaos shrine. That's beautiful. I'll just turn that off just for the showcase, just to see the build itself. Not a bad map. Not a bad map at all. Yeah, not too bad. Feel free to comment down below. Let me know what you like or don't like about the build, what you might change, or anything like that. I'm always open for a discussion of how I can make my builds better. With all that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Toss me a sub for more PoE2 videos, and go check out my Twitch at twitch.tv/dappergoldie. That's all. Peace.